breaking news today.
Please subscribe and then check notification box to get all breaking news alerts.
Mom lets Muslim babysitter watch 2-year-old girl for 10 minutes. What happened next left her devastated. When a mother asked her Muslim acquaintance to watch her young daughter, she promised that she would only be gone for 10 minutes at the most. Unfortunately, that 10 minutes was all this man needed to scar her for life. The left constantly portrays Islam as a peaceful religion. They push for more Muslim characters in TV shows, they push for more diversity in all of our companies, and they push for more positive news stories showing Muslims in a great light. As much as liberals hate to hear this, sometimes the facts do hurt, and sometimes they hurt hard. All of the facts point to the idea that Islam is not a religion of peace, from their refusal to integrate, their conquest of nations, and their barbaric Sharia laws. Islam includes a fundamentally hateful and sexist set of commandments, which were issued by their pedophile prophet Muhammad. According to this prophet, it's okay to rape women, marry prepubescent girls, and beat your wife if she speaks out of line. Everywhere that Islam goes, violence follows, so it's no surprise that this little girl has now been permanently traumatized for life, after being left alone with a Muslim man. Although it was only for a few minutes, that's all he needed to accomplish his twisted goal. The Mirror reports. A 2-year-old girl has been left disabled for life with injuries similar to a 70 mph crash victim after being battered by her brutal babysitter. Vicious Nisar Ali, 34, beat and shook the youngster in a fit of inhumane rage after he was asked to look after her for 10 minutes at the request of her mother, a court heard. He then returned her home in his VW Passat car without saying anything. The child collapsed at home in Rochdale, Greater Manchester, and was found to have suffered 30 injuries including a fractured skull and a bleed on the brain. She underwent emergency surgery at Royal Manchester Children's Hospital where she had to have part of her skull removed to relieve pressure from her brain. She was left with brain damage and will be disabled for the rest of her life, with doctors saying she will have the appearance of a person who has suffered a severe stroke. One expert said her injuries were also similar to injuries caused in a fall from the top of a 2-story building. As disgusting as this crime is, the mainstream liberal media isn't touching it with a 10-foot pole. They're intent on brainwashing Americans into believing that Islam is a religion of peace, when in reality, this is the type of scum that it creates. Thankfully, the judge wasn't a liberal, and had some common sense. Although not sentencing the Muslim to prison for life, at least he didn't let him off scot-free like many other leftist judges. Nisar Ali was sentenced to 14 years in prison, after the residing judge offered some poignant statements. This is a grave crime. The evidence which the jury heard provided a chilling insight into your character and sense of morality and humanity. Before this incident, the child you injured was a very bright, delightful, happy child with all of her future ahead of her. She had a loving family, a devoted father, a loving sister, a wider extended family. Your defense was that you had not caused any injury and had no knowledge how she came to be so gravely ill, but the evidence in the trial showed you to be a manipulative man. It may never be known what you did to her, but something happened at the park when you took her there. You were away from the mother for a period of 10 minutes. It's most likely you took the child into your parents' house where you attacked her. It must have been a ferocious assault on a defenseless 2-year-old child. You have a short temper. You don't tolerate independence of mind, you have strict ideas about how children should be brought up. The child suffered 30 deliberate injuries, 3 were life-threatening head injuries, a fractured skull. The force required would be consistent with a fall from a 2-story building. She was also shaken so badly her injuries were equivalent to a car accident at 70 mph. She became immediately unwell. In an act of cold calculation and self-preservation, you chose not to tell her mother, you drove her back and left her there. When the mother became aware that she was making groaning noises, you pretended not to know why. You displayed no concern for the child in the aftermath. The excellence of the highly qualified and dedicated team of doctors saved her life, but the consequences have been life-changing for this little girl. Her left side doesn't work normally and she appears as though she has a stroke. This is a permanent disability and it is likely to need lifelong help. She will never achieve her potential she would have had without the head injury. You have deprived her and her family of the future they were hoping for her. It also harmed many others. Her family are left to grieve for the child they knew. You have shown no remorse. This was a pattern that was going throughout the day. You have a vicious streak, and you have an explosive temper and you quickly lose control of yourself. You demonstrated extreme violence towards the child and you are a dangerous offender who poses a significant risk of causing serious harm to others. Because of this subhuman scumbag's irrational rage and complete lack of sympathy, he destroyed a young girl's very bright future. My daughter will never be the same, the mother said, adding that the actions of this one inhumane person has caused my daughter her future. This is why we must support President Trump in his crackdown on immigration. While this happened in the UK, it's completely possible that it could happen here, and in many ways it already is. Cities such as Dearborn, Michigan already have thousands of Muslim migrants, or are beginning to look more like Baghdad than the USA. Islam is a disgusting religion that encourages violence, abuse, and rape, and it will not be tolerated by the true, patriotic men and women of this country, and while this little girl will likely never function normally again, that doesn't mean we can't save other children from suffering the same fate. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think about this? Share this on Facebook and Twitter along with your comments.